I'm Representative Gene Ward, representing Hawaii Kai-Taklama Valley, and this is a legislative update. This is a time in Hawaii when money is a problem because the state budget does not balance. We're $2 billion short. What we've got to do is think about creative, innovative, different ways of making that budget balance. Some of those that we're most concerned about are those on the lower end of the socioeconomic level, and that is where sometimes domestic violence takes a toll. As the economy gets tougher, things might get more difficult, but I think there's an innovative possibility that we can explore today, and that's because I have Kellie Copeland Ministries and the Swishers, who are going to give us some insight in what they're doing in Hawaii and what they've done in Texas, and how possibly, using the national model, using the faith-based organizations to help with the social network, or the net, if you will, in helping domestic violence. I know there was a hearing that you two participated in. We appreciate you being in Hawaii. What are some of the things that are going on? Shall we begin with the women's first?
Women first. Well, you know, as a children's pastor, I see a lot of things. I've seen families living in their car. I've seen families in situations of domestic violence, and I've seen the church. I mean, not just a random church, but the church that I've been involved with, Eagle Mountain International Church, a pastor there. I've seen the whole church body come up under a family and help them, not just give them a meal or a place to sleep, but give them mentoring, relationships. And you know, I see the greatest victims, of course, I think everybody agrees, are the children. They are powerless to do anything about their life or where they live. But in a church, everyone receives. The children receive a teaching. The children receive teaching in integrity and honor and faithfulness that will cause them to then grow up into a better citizen. They receive help. I'm thinking of one situation where we had a domestic violence case. We had our ministers and counselors helping the mother, helping her to have a safety net, helping her to know where to go and what to do, helping her to make decisions when she was in a hard time, didn't know what to do. But also, I was the children's pastor of the 12-year-old daughter, and so I was able to help her with her sense of self and her sense of confidence and having a long-term relationship with her. I can look at that whole family now. Several years later, they're doing great. They're strong. I've seen families come in and live in a car, and 5 years later, they're in jobs and they're in homes and the kids are happy.
Has that been independent of any social services from the government, or has that been primarily through your ministries, through your church, and through the members in the body?
Actually, those two cases have been independent, where the church is doing it, and that's one thing I wanted to point out. What you're talking about partnering with the churches to do, churches are already doing it. They could do it greater with more finances and resources, and I think they can do a better job of helping and mentoring people than the government can, because a church becomes the safety net. A church helps people, mentors people, helps people grow from a person who is needy to a person who then can be a part of the solution and help another family who comes in with need. I see it every day.
You know, I think that's exactly what the resolution was trying to get at today, and that was how can we integrate both the church and the state, if you will, on these social issues. Your testimony said that's a doable option.
Yes,
Do you want to remind us of some of those things that are doable between the two of the...
I believe it's doable because churches and ministries can work together. We have a coalition at Believers Stand United, as I mentioned in the committee, of 25,000 individuals from every denomination you can name, Baptist, Methodist, Assembly of God, non-denominational, Jewish, Catholic, etc. People who are working together to make an impact in their community for religious freedom. I noticed a sign on your desk here, a man who loves unconditionally knows how to be a father. I think that's what the church is so good at, loving unconditionally, accepting people where they are, not saying you have to change, you have to be different than you are to be loved. But when someone has an atmosphere of love, they want to be better. They don't feel condemned. I think they want to rise up higher and be better people. And that's why Kellie was talking in the committee today, how to teach life skills, how to teach men how to be men that love unconditionally, and that instead of harming people around them, they support and love people around them. Women as well, how to be good mothers, children, protecting them. And then I noticed in your office here the statue of Thomas Jefferson, and we get the question from time to time, what about the separation of church and state? But of course, as you know, because you lived in Virginia and because you have a PhD and you're a learned individual, President Jefferson was writing to the Danbury Baptist Association. They were asking him the question about church and state. He was talking about the state not interfering with the church, not the church interfering with the state. And somewhere along the line, people have confused that to think it's a part of the Constitution, or they think it's part of the Declaration of Independence, that the church and state cannot in any way be together. But that was the exact opposite of what the President at that point was saying. So I think when we get beyond that hurdle, that the church can aid the state, and the people, actually the state is simply a representation of the people that live there.
Exactly.
And so we want to be a part, our example, of course, is Jesus Christ. We're Christian pastors. He was someone who did not turn anyone away. He was a loving individual who said, all who labor, come and I will give you rest. And so we want to be a part of that movement to support and to help, in this case, the Hawaii State Legislature and the government of Hawaii in making a difference.
We are now just on the precipice of doing that. This is the first exploratory measure we've had, even though there's been a faith-based initiative to a degree in the Office of Community Services. It hasn't been really activated. It hasn't been put on a higher profile. And I think we're kind of on the precipice of doing that, because let's look at it in the sense that I use Mayor Daley as the model. When you needed a job, when you needed food, you needed shelter, medicine, or whatever, you went to the political parties. And then from the political parties, it basically became co-opted by the government. And from the government, anybody who needs anything, whether they're poor, hungry, or destitute, generally the first reaction is you go to the State Office of Human Services or something that does support the state. Not that the church has abdicated, but basically the state has taken it away. And what I see in you two is an attitude and an eagerness, if you will, that the church is there. It's doing it, but we're not kind of cooperating in a way that we could reach a more, what would you call it, leveraged synchronization of resources, and with the talent that you would bring by the people understand and have maybe more of the emotive way of relating to the people and problems. This could be the beginning of a good relationship.
Yes, sir.
I can see it in the beginning. What else will you be doing in Hawaii while you're here?
Well, we're also opening the House of Representatives in prayer today at noon, and then meeting with representatives to talk about religious freedom and how faith-based initiatives can make an impact in state government and for the people of the state.
And actually, tomorrow I'm addressing a body of students in a high school about keep abstinence, but not just abstinence. Abstinence with a purpose. I think abstinence is, the kids think it's hard to do, but with purpose you can do anything. So we'll be addressing them about that. So we're excited about that.
Well, thank you for all you're bringing to the state of Hawaii. We welcome all new creative, innovative ways and energies and ideas, and those who come with a spiritual agenda. You are also welcome. We do not have a separation of church and state. We're just trying to get these ideas a better amalgamation and a better understanding of that. Thanks for being with us today. Again, this is Representative Gene Ward with a legislative update on the precipice of looking at, can we have more church and state relationships? Can we use faith-based to get through these hard economic times that we're facing? We'll keep you posted on this. Thank you, and aloha.